Each step of the scale has a different personality, a different color, so to speak. And what if you know that you want a certain color, a certain sound, at a particular moment in a solo? You'd have to know exactly where that scale degree is in relation to the chord at the moment in that song. Now, if you're still doing the pentatonic hunt and peck for the sounds that you want, that kind of works okay. But did the great painters of the past randomly choose certain colors? No. They learned to mix colors over many years of practice. They knew how to create the colors they wanted. The famous yellows of Van Gogh appear in so many of his paintings, just like certain tones are featured by certain guitar players, each with their own affinity for either roots or thirds or fifths or sevenths. The tones at some point become their style, their sound. Now, it's not as difficult as mixing colors, which is really good because I have no idea how to do that. There's a method for guitar, and we call it targeting. It sounds like this. What if I said to you, improvise a lick in minor pentatonic, but end on the minor third of D minor? Does that sound difficult? It's really not, and you can do it. We've covered targeting a bit on this channel already, but the crazy thing is that targeting any note, no matter how advanced it might sound, is just as easy as targeting, say, the roots, because the process is exactly the same. So real quick, let's review some of the common target notes in minor pentatonic shape 1, and then we'll do some other shapes because that's where it gets really interesting. But this is a great place to start. First off, the chord itself tells us a lot about where those most common target notes are. When we look at this D minor bar chord, well, first we definitely should know that that's a root, so sure, that's one obvious place maybe to end a lick, but we should also know where the other roots in that shape are. For example, there's a root here, and there's a root here. So any of those notes would be good places for having serious resolve, right? This lick is going to sound very finished when we end on the root. So I could play the chord, play anything, any kind of simple lick, and end on a root, and it sounds very finalized, right? So roots have that, but maybe they're not the coolest note to end a lick on. What about a fifth? A fifth has a really cool sound because a fifth sounds like it's not quite finished yet. Now again, we can look inside the chord to find where those intervals are. So we look at this D minor bar chord again, and we can see, we have to do a little bit of memorization, but we can see there's a fifth there. You might know that. That might look familiar if you played some power chords before. That's a fifth there. And then we can memorize that that's a fifth there. They are in the bar chord, right? That one is an especially good one to land on. I could play the chord, play a lick, and then end on there, and you'll see how different it sounds ending on the fifth rather than the root. Right? It sounds kind of unfinished. It sounds like we're not quite done yet. We have something else we want to say. And maybe what we want to say is we want to end on a minor third. A minor third because that's what's in the chord, right? So if the song is a D minor at that moment, we have those options and some others, but those are the most obvious options. A root, the minor third, or the fifth. We did the root, we did the fifth, let's do the minor third. Go back to the chord, it's gonna be in there, it's gonna be the other one we haven't found yet. It's right there. And that's gonna have probably the most character of all of these guys, and definitely sounds kind of unfinished. So we hear the chord, and we can hear that lingers a bit, right? If we hear it against the chord, it's moodier, right? Especially when it's a minor third. The minor third is what's giving it that moody, that kind of sad feeling. That's nice. Put a little vibrato on that guy. That's a very cool tone to end on. So those are just real quickly the ones in easy shape minor pentatonic. But we want to be able to find these kind of chord tones, these kinds of sounds, these kinds of colors, if you will. We want to be able to find them wherever we happen to be on the fretboard. So let's say we were down here. Let's say we found ourselves down here. Maybe we were playing a rhythm guitar part, and suddenly we need to play a little fill, a fill in between a vocal part. We want to be able to see the pentatonic shape, and then we want to be able to see that with the chord, but also we want to be able to see the intervals and the important target tones. So that's the chord, different chord shape, right? D minor. What's the pentatonic shape there? It would be minor pentatonic shape 4, because root is there on the A string. Right? So that's the chord, that's the shape. This is the one I call funny B string shape, because it's got that guy. And now, where are our common target notes? Look at the chord. There's the root. There's the 5th. There's a root again. There's a minor 3rd. Sweet. And here's the 5. They're all there. They're right inside that chord. We just have to memorize which one is which. And that's not hard. That takes a little bit of time. But also, we get the feeling for, it's not about just, picking any of those. We want to know in advance, what is that sound going to be like? What is that color going to be like? Is it going to be kind of final, like the roots? Or is it going to be kind of like an open-ended question, like the 5th? Or is it going to be kind of moody, like the minor 3rd? We want to know that in advance, and we can feel that. We can play a simple lick and land it however we want to say what we want to do. So here's the chord. There's a root, right? We can hear that resolves really nicely. Let's do the 5th. I don't know why I'm doing them in this order. It doesn't matter. We're going to do the 5th. Remember, it's way up here now. That's okay. Put the chord in for the context. That sounds unfinished. It sounds like we still have more to say, right? Let's do the moody minor 3rd. Where is it again? It's there, inside the chord. That is what makes that a minor chord, right? Because if it was a D major chord, it wouldn't be this note, it would be that happy note. Oof, that sounds so weird now in context, right? Because it's not the right chord. We already can hear the moody minor chord, and we want that sound. So, play the chord. And there's... that moodiness. Let's go to a root. There's root, right? Let's go to the 5th again. Sometimes you can just jump all the way up to it. Sometimes that's a cool effect, right? Too often we play scale-wise with pentatonic shapes, and one of the things that these target notes do is they give you something to jump to, something to think of in advance. Now, sometimes we want that jump, because sometimes that sounds cool, but sometimes we want to be more smooth and slinky about it, and we want to sort of fall into a certain pitch, right? So let's take this one step further. Let's fall into a minor 7 of D minor. Well, again, we can just go back to the chord. So when we look at D minor, this does not have a 7, but we could make it D minor 7. There's a 7 right there. It's in the chord. Of course it is. It's a D minor 7 chord. It's got to be in the chord. It's there. Has to be that one. That's the only thing that's changed about the chord. So there's that minor 7. Now what we're going to do is a special little trick. We're going to fall into that minor 7 chromatically. Chromatically means every note in between, right? From the root to the minor 7. And that is going to be very kind of smooth sounding, right? A bit jazzy maybe. Kind of bluesy as well, right? comes as a surprise. Now, if you want to dig deeper into this targeting technique, I do have this in my books, Guitar Soloing Like a Pro, Book 1 and Book 2. Book 1 is for minor pentatonic, Book 2 is for major pentatonic, and those are available on Amazon. But of course, we're going to dive deep on our Patreon group, so you can check that out. You can get 7 days for free, so you might as well try it out. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a little quiz, because part of it is that we want to be able to recognize the sound, right? We want to know, what do roots sound like? What do minor thirds sound like? What do fifths sound like? So we're going to use a little movie magic so that you can't see exactly what I'm doing. But I'm going to land on a certain note, and then you're going to try to guess by sound whether that's resolved from the root or fifth. Open-ended question is the fifth, right? Fine. And minor third is moody. And I might do it in different places so that you're not sure whether, just because it's high up, because so far I've been playing the fifth up there, but I don't have to play the fifth up that high, right? So let's go. Here is number 1. Here's number 2. Here's number 3. Four. We'll do 2 more. There's going to be some repetition now, so you might be able to notice them, but keep in mind, I can play these in different places. Careful with that one, okay? Did you get it? Yeah, I bet. Some of you said fifth, right? Good. And I bet some of you said root. That was not quite right. It was the fifth, but down. Okay, we'll do 1 more. Let's see. Maybe you'll get this one. Little chromatic move might be a tip off there, right? That is definitely the minor 7. And we've got this previous video here, which also does targeting in a slightly different way, in a slightly different place, because we all need more practice with targeting for sure. It is well worth the effort. My name is Blue Morris, and I teach guitar lessons right here in Vancouver, Canada. I'll see you in the next one.